Hello and welcome back to 5-Minute Tech Tips. This is part 2 of our series on selection techniques as well as working with layers. You can see this is going to be more or less our finished product. We started off with just looking at just sort of this basic Italian piazza, and we just brought this little dinosaur in there and also separated out the sky from the background. So go ahead and review our previous video on how to do that. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is just bring in some other images. So I'm going to say File, I'm going to say Place Embedded, and let's go ahead and now maybe bring in a pterodactyl. So I bring that guy in there, and you're going to see it's going to take up the whole canvas, and I need to get rid of the white background. So if you notice, like I talked about in my last video, this is now a smart object. So I need to right click on this and rasterize it. And why am I doing that? So I can get rid of this white background. It kind of protects it using a smart object feature, which I don't want to protect it at this point. I just want to be able to get rid of it. So I'm going to use my magic wand tool, which allows me to select colors that are all very similar to the thing that I've selected. And now I select it, I hit delete, and it goes away. Right click, and I'm going to say deselect. Now if I did not make that into a rasterized object, it would give me an error message, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so now I'm going to make that a little smaller. And a nice little tip for you, if you want to duplicate these really quickly, is if you hold down the Alt key and just simply click and drag, excuse me, okay, come back to my move tool here, and then hold down the Alt key, click and drag, and then look at that. I've got a number of these quickly and easily. So it's a very kind of a nice, simple sort of cut and paste, if you will. All right, so now I'm kind of creating the illusion of depth, like that one's a little bit further away. This one's a little bit closer. Okay, and then these guys are sort of warring with each other. Okay, and now you'll notice here are my layers. Okay, so layering order is going to be very important, how we work with these things here. All right, now a little bit about what we can do with our layers. In addition to renaming them by double-clicking them, you also have a few other things, like you might have opacity, okay, meaning that you might want to see through some things. I'm going to bring in some text and some objects in a little bit. You might want to see through some of those things just for, for depth and some realism. So you can do that. Also, you have some other effects down below. So I'm going to bring in my spaceship, and I want to make that glow a little bit. So I'm going to have a similar situation where I have this white box, hit enter, I need to rasterize this, go back to here, click on that, get rid of this, and I want to make this glow. So there is a pretty neat glow feature. Let's now make this. And how can I do that? I'm going to go over here to this effects. You'll see there's a lot of different options I can do here. I'm going to now choose outer glow, and you'll see subtly a little outer glow will appear. Okay, you can see there it is. And what's making that happen is all of these options, like the spread of the glow, the size of the glow, the color of the glow, everything. All right, so maybe I want to make that kind of a red color. You can do that, and then watch it change here. I might want to make it spread out a little bit more, or maybe make it a little bit more sort of diffuse so it's not so dominant. Close that out, and you'll notice here I have these layer effects down below. All right, so let me now just kind of bring this up here, and you can see how it kind of has this cool effect where it's just sort of glowing in the sky. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to clone this. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, click and drag. Excuse me, I got to go back to that. Same thing as I did before. Go back to the move tool, go ahead and clone that, and then he's going to have some friends. Okay, and then you're going to see it's going to be an all-out war between these guys here. All right, so if I ever want to change any of these effects, I can very easily do that. Like this, let's just say this one, I want to have a different color or maybe a different effect altogether. I can very easily just double click on this, right where I'm over here, and it's going to take me right back to that same dialog box where I was just a second ago. And there I am, outer glow. Let's now make this a different color altogether. And you can see now this is a different one. Okay, now if you'll notice here, because I have this in front of it, right, this is now creating the illusion that this is now in front of it. And how is it doing that? It's doing that because of the layering order here. If I want it behind it, then I would have to drag it down below the dinosaur. But really, I want to have this just above this because, again, it's one of those situations where I want it to look like it's just right in front of it, it's about to attack it. Maybe I want to make this so it's like rotating a little bit. Okay, that's great. And let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay, and then I'm going to hit enter when I'm finished. Okay, so we did a number of different things here. We did some additional layer management while bringing in some new content and then restacking them in here. Okay, we can again rename them by double clicking anywhere on the words on the layers. And we also added on a little bit of effects. Okay, now I might want to create the illusion that this has some opacity. We talked about that also. So I'm going to bring down the opacity so it kind of looks a little more sort of like translucent a little bit. Okay, so you're kind of just creating this sort of like see-through effect. So you can kind of see through it there, just like that. And in the next exercise, if you stay tuned for the next one, you're going to see I'm going to do another one using just basic shapes as well. All right, so this is part 2 of working with selections, layers, and also working with our effects, our layer effects and layer styles. And for the next lesson, we're going to go into bringing in some text and then putting some more effects onto those. Okay, so this is SF Tech Training and working with 5-minute tech tips. So please stay tuned and feel free to subscribe and find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and sftechtraining.com.